Hello, I'm Brian Farron, President of Medina County Historical Society, and we're here to tell you a little bit about an exciting event coming up on July 13th. We are reenacting a parade that was held in 1954, and what happened in that year was the most New Holland hay balers were sold at the Farmers Exchange located on South Court Street. And the salesman, John Wanko, invited all the farmers to come into town and hitch up their brand new piece of equipment. And then they had a large party picnic and a parade through the town square. It was the most unusual parade Medina has probably ever seen. There were probably 20-some farmers with their new hay balers going around our square. So this year, the members of the club, when they saw the photos, decided why not reenact this parade. Hay baling is a very important agricultural task that most farmers have to do one way or the other. And the purpose of the parade is to show the evolution of agriculture and also the role of women in agriculture. We are including a hay queen contestant process this year to select a hay queen, as was done in 1954. And this will be a real exciting event that will highlight not only the role of men in agriculture, but of women as well. And with me now is Dennis Morlock, President of Medina County Antique Power Association, who's going to tell you a little bit about the club.
Medina Antique Power Association was formed quite some years ago, I think back in the 70s or so, and it's remained a club. We have generally around 100, 120 members. We were approached here a while back at Brian here in the Historical Society about the possibility of what we thought about doing this reenactment on the 1954 Hay Baler Parade when they at Farmers Exchange, when John Wanko sold all these balers. And all these farmers were asked to come in and bring their tractors to the Medina County Fairgrounds and hook on these balers, and John did a feed for them, and then he had them parade down Smith Road and up South Court Street and around the square there. And here we have with us today is Paul Kovalik, and I'm going to let Paul talk to you here about this recent purchase I think he's gotten not too long ago here.
This is an Ann Arbor, made by the Ann Arbor Machine Company. We purchased it in March from an online auction, and a lot of other equipment and stuff in there. Apparently it had been dumped outside in the weeds and stuff for years, and the axles were taken out from under it at some time and left set out. It's basically all there except some of the sheet metals can be replaced very easily. We hope to have it running someday and be back to baling hay again. Medina County was a big agricultural county back in the time, but little by little as it's gotten smaller, but it's kind of diversified, so we do have different types of agriculture now that maybe wasn't so big at the time back then, but so it's still a very important thing, and that's what we're trying to do, is keep this importance of this older equipment alive for the younger generations to realize what our ancestors went through to do the farm and the work they had to do to keep their farm going. So this is one of two self-propels that you will see in the parade. This particular one, this model, was made from 1968 to 72. They're more for like the Midwest and big open hay country. We've had this one here probably 12 years. This particular one is a pretty heavy duty. The way this one's set up, it was made to drop the bales on the ground, and then an automatic hay wagon would come along and snatch up the bales and stack them on a wagon automatically. This is a McCormick Daring baler from the 40s. We bought it at a farm auction, been sitting in the barn for 20-some years, and my son-in-law and I restored it some years ago. Got a Cub motor on it, out of a Cub tractor, same as. And the tractor is a W9, 47 year, and we restored that some years ago before we even had the baler. And they're going to be in the parade. A lot of people don't realize the older equipment and how important it was back at the time when these balers were first built brand new, there was a lot of hard labor was involved in making the hay, getting the crops in.
We're at the Richmond Farms, and the owner, Tom Indu, is here with another hay baler you're going to get a chance to see in the parade Thursday, July 13th.
Well, this is a 1940, well, they made them from 1946 to 58. This 46, number 46 McCormick baler. And I understand they made them at the Memphis baler plant down in Memphis, Tennessee. Usually they're red, but this is a demonstrator. They used to go around farms and demonstrate, sort of a publicity thing. They painted them white. I picked it up at an auction. I don't know. It wasn't bringing much down in Warville. I was afraid a scrapper would get it, so I picked it up and brought it home. But it's a sort of a unique piece. It's a small square. It don't have a kicker or anything. They just pulled a wagon or dropped them on the ground. They made a small square bale like that. It depends how heavy they made them, 50 pounds, 60 pounders. The tractor I'm using to pull it with is a 1947-8 Farmall H, and that's what a lot of them were pulled with back then, the HMs and W6s and in that era of tractors.
Farming's not an easy task, that's for sure. And the more we study these balers, you realize how complicated and complex the machinery is, and how much you had to be as much of a mechanic as farmer to make everything work right.
Well, nothing is worse when one of the knotters isn't working right and you're trying to figure it out. And it's amazing how they figured out how to make a knotter work.
But back when Medina County had a lot of small family farms, this was probably a pretty important piece of equipment to have. And it was still a labor-saving device over years prior. So we look forward to seeing you at the Hay Baler Parade. We're at our third stop, the farm of Patrick Farron, with several important pieces of equipment. And also in his farm, in one of the barns, he located this original gate that's stenciled with Medina Farmers Exchange. This company was very instrumental in dealing with agricultural equipment, as well as servicing the farmers' needs in grain, supplies, feed materials, good gossip, and I'm sure other things as farmers came into town to do their business. So we're going to turn it over to Patrick Farron to tell you a little bit about some of the equipment here and why these size tractors were so important to our agricultural history.
Great, thanks, Brian. First over here, this is a 1952 Farmall Cub, a very popular small tractor back during that time period. They produced these for many years. They started in the late 40s on into the 60s with very few model changes. But this is a very popular tractor amongst small acreage owners, and it also had a place on the larger farms, moving wagons as a PTO operation on the back. Again, these are very popular in small farms, tobacco farms, most of your small produce farms especially. Moving over here, this is a 1953 Farmall Super H. It's called a Super H. This is the final year that they made the Farmall H before they transitioned into the number series. This again was a very popular tractor. This was a mid-size Farmall. They only really produced one tractor larger than this during that era, which was the Farmall M. But again, this was the H. They made it a Super H in its final year of production, gave it a little bit more horsepower, bigger carburetor. But this is a very capable tractor. Again, it was probably could pull a 2 to 3 bottom plow, had a PTO off the back, had a belt pulley on the other side, which would run either a threshing machine or perhaps even a sawmill and many other elevators and so forth on the larger farm. A lot of them are still working. A lot of them you'll see in parades and other type functions.
Well, as you've seen from our 3 stops today, we have some great products to show you during not only the parade on Thursday, July 13th at 6:30, coming up Court Street through Medina, but also at the Medina County Antique Power Show, which we held Friday and Saturday, July 14th and 15th. There's no admission, and you'll see some of this great equipment all shined up and ready for your inspection please come out and join these gentlemen and ladies that enjoy restoring farm equipment. They really share an important chapter of our agricultural history in the county. So I hope you can come and enjoy it. Thank you for watching.